Okay, to begin setting up your design for your 3D model, what you're first going to do is you're going to go into graphics, you're going to go into your classes, period 8. Once you get in there, you're going to make sure that you go to your folder and there's that yellow file that I put in there today. What you're going to do is right click on that, open with Photoshop, or you can simply hit open. Once you get that file to come up, we're trying to get to a point that kind of looks like this. So I'm going to start with another one that was not complete, not even started, okay? So I'll go to, let's see, Kevin's here. Okay, I'll use Kevin's as an example. So I'm going to open up Kevin's. And then what I had you do is I had you go to your folder. I had you drag your screenshot of your words like this. I had you click, drag, and drop it onto the white page. Once you bring it onto the white page, you can hit enter on your keyboard or you can hit the little checkbox up top. Once you've done that, it's best to go to the layer itself. I'm talking about over here in the layers panel, this panel here. If you don't see it, go up to the top, and go to window, and down to layers, and layers will pop back up for you. So what I want you to do on that layer, and remember you have dragged it in from your folder, just one more time, click and drag into your white page, and then hit enter on your keyboard or checkbox up top, and then over to the layer, right click, and select rasterize layer. Any other objects that you have, any icons that you have that you want to put in, so for example on that, just to reiterate what we talked about in class, so you can do icons and then go to images, and you'll see lots of different icons of all kinds of stuff. If you put a specific word, so if you just put icons by itself, you're going to get this sort of thing to come up, which you could totally use one of these if you'd like. Otherwise, you have to be more specific. So if you did like a tree icon or a heart icon, you're going to get this sort of a thing to pop up. Once you find one, I'm going to just click on this and see if I can find like a really basic one. So like this could be fine. I don't know why you would put a tree on yours, but let's just say you did. You click and you drag it. Make sure it goes into your folder first, and then from your folder, so I'll put it in Kevin's folder just as an example. Put it into the folder, and then from here you drag and drop onto the white page. Same way as before. Hit the checkbox or hit enter on your keyboard, and then go over to the layer. Same step as the first time. Right click and right click and rasterize layer. Okay, right click, rasterize layer. Now once you have these layers set up, what you have basically is you have your white background, then you have the words from the screenshot, then you have the icon, so you got 3 layers in total. What you want to do is rearrange them in the way that you want them to appear once we make this 3D little name tag. So to do that, you're going to make sure you go to Window, Workspace, and then over to Essentials Default, this one here. That's just going to reset everything in Photoshop so it's kind of back to what you're used to seeing. Also, if you go to Window and down to Application Frame, it will put it all into one little frame like this so that it all kind of snaps together. If you have any problem with it, just call me over. And this is pretty much what things should look like for you on your screen. And then I'm going to pull the Layers panel out and just take a look here, and I'm going to rearrange this. So what you want to try to do is go to each layer one at a time. So I'm going to hide the first 2 just for a second so you can see it's only white right now. Then I'm going to click on the first layer, turn the little eyeball icon on to the left right there. And now you can take that move tool, which is the top tool in the toolbar, and begin to move it wherever you'd like on the screen. If you want to make it larger, you just go to Edit, Free Transform, or Command T or Window key T on your keyboard. You'll see a box gets put around it, and there's a little chain here at the top, a little link. Click on it, and now when you click on any of these dots, you will be able to resize it. You can also go off past the corner, click, and rotate in any direction that you'd like. One last option that you do have is if you right click inside of here, you can change its transformation, sort of the word itself or everything that's on that layer, by playing with the distortion, the perspective, the warp, or the skew. So for example, if I went to perspective, I could make it kind of shoot out at us like this, or go back. Or if I right click and try warp, I have more control over it, and I can start to, really twist and move things around. So get it the way you want it to look. Hit the checkbox when you're done. That's all good. Then go to the next layer that's on top of that one, turn that eyeball on, and make sure you're on the move tool, and now you can move this object as well. You will notice that this object has white around it. So to kind of avoid some of that white that's around it, you're just going to go to that layer and use this magic wand tool to click on the white and then hit delete. I can go to the inside little pieces and do the same thing. So magic wand on that layer, click on the white areas, hit delete. Go back to my move tool and move it wherever I want. So if I wanted this to, you know, I don't know, be over here, I could place it right there and all looks well. Again, if you want to make it bigger or smaller, edit, free transform or Command T, and then resize from here. You could rotate, decide where you want to put it, place it. Okay, that looks good. All right, so what I want to do now is I want to take these two layers and I want to combine them. So to do that, what you're going to do is click one layer, then hold Shift on your keyboard, select the second layer, and then right click and select Merge Layers. And that's going to take those two layers and put them together. Once they're together like that, we're going to go to the opacity little slider here, which is right above it, bring it down pretty low, like a 35 or 30, somewhere in that range is fine. And then if you click back on the layer, we're going to hit this little lock button because we do want to lock it down so we don't accidentally do anything to it. Your next step is to go down to the bottom of your layers panel here. There's a little plus sign. You're going to click that. It's going to add a new layer on top. We're going to double click that layer and type in the word draw, or even draw here, okay? And then you're going to trace what you see here as best you can using the brush tool. So here's the brush tool on your toolbar. It is the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9th tool down. And if you right click on it, you will see the brush or the pencil tool. I would recommend the brush tool for this. And then up at the top, these are all the different sizes for your brush. So you click on it, you can choose from all these different kinds of brushes. I would probably stick with a very simple, hard, round brush right now. So the hardness is at 100. And then the size right now is at 150. You'll notice on my screen, the size of the brush looks pretty big. So I would probably go over to here and bring this down quite a bit so I get smaller. I could also right click on my screen with the brush and the options come up again. So what I want to start doing is really just kind of finding my way around this letter. All of them. Or any of the shapes that you have. These happen to be blocky shapes that are really close to each other, okay? But you're sort of going to try to outline this entire thing as best you can. If you have any areas that are straight lines, like from here to here is pretty much a straight line, you can click once, hold Shift, and click the second spot and you'll get a straight line. So if I click, hold Shift, click, I get a straight line. So you continue to draw all these pieces. Now in terms of coloring this in, you can either go like this and simply fill it in with a brush. You can right click and change the size of your brush to make the brush bigger, to fill in more space at once, and then again make it smaller and resize. Okay, on your keyboard it's the bracket keys that can make your brush bigger and smaller, and so you go in and you do it like that. If you finish outlining the entire thing, I'll just do like this as an example. You can also take the paint bucket tool and you can use that to click, and if you click another time it kind of fills up the whole thing, and that's another way to do it. So you can either outline the whole thing or outline and then color in with the brush, or paint bucket. Really either way is totally fine on this. So you're going to do the entire thing, including whatever icon like this that you brought in, right? You bring in all these things and then you draw them, and you make the brush smaller and you draw them, and so on and so on and so on. Okay, so that's step one of putting this thing together. Move on to video 2 and you will see how to now take this that you've done and turn it into a 3D shape, which we are going to do in another program, which I'm going to talk about in the second video. Also, just one note though, if your letters are apart, you're going to want to connect them in some way. So you can connect anything just by adding more black lines. So if I wanted to, not only could I add more things, I could just I could draw whatever I wanted to out of here and connect it to something else. I could make the brush smaller and I could literally add any sort of design or anything else that you want to add to this. And then again, you'd have to fill it in with color or with the paint bucket. Okay, so continue to do that until you've drawn the entire thing. And then once you've done that, move on to video